So this is kind of a wild headline that I just ran across. It says, and this is on the Daily Mail, of course. They always like have the craziest headlines. But it says, and this is horrible. Like, this is really bad.
Mm-hmm.
German who chopped off his 100-year-old grandmother's head with an axe as she tried to fend him off with a vacuum cleaner is jailed for 7 years. Arthur B. he's an ex-soldier, he's 37 years old, and he was having to care for his grandmother, 100-year-old grandmother, Amelie G., on his own, and he said he was having a really hard time coping with it.
Jeez, man.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of this. Like, even if you're having a hard time coping with taking care of your 100-year-old grandmother, what? Like, clearly it's more than that.
Yeah.
Like, you are disturbed, man.
I mean, that's serial killer type behavior that we're seeing right there.
Yeah, this is
harming a family member
Yeah.
or a female figure in some way.
And he's 37, and this is in Hamburg, Germany.
Yeah.
It's absolutely wild. So, the coroners determined that she was struck 16 times with the axe.
I mean, it sounds like a crime of passion in that situation. I'm just curious, does it say anything about motivation?
That he was having a hard time coping with caring for her. That's it. So he also said that he was suffering with a personality disorder and consulted with a psychiatrist and claimed he was struggling to cope with the care of his wheelchair-bound grandmother. And she suffered from dementia.
Jeez.
And she's 100 years old in a wheelchair with dementia, and he's attacking her with an axe, and she is defending herself with a cordless vacuum at 100 years old.
I mean, she didn't have a chance. Let's be real here.
No,
she did not have a chance.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that it's incredible that she tried to defend herself at that age.
Yeah.
Like that, I don't know. It's so tragic.
It is, yeah. I do think it's incredible, too. But I just continue to go back to the fact that she never should have had to, period. That a person like that needs to be put away for a lot longer than 7 years, in my opinion. But I understand that Germany has different laws and rules and regulations and how they do things. And life sentences there, I've heard, are way, 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 way shorter than a lot of other countries, like ours in particular. So yeah, it is. It's horrible. It is really sad. It should have never happened, and he should probably never be out again in a situation like that. That is a family member. There's some sort of emotional connection and bond there, a family member should be harder to end than some random person you don't know. And the fact that he did that makes it a very scary situation for other people.
Well,
I'm curious what his background is.
He's an ex-soldier.
Okay.
He says he has a personality disorder. So here's my theory. So family members said they were keeping their distance from him because he was unemployed, constantly didn't have money. Neighbors said that he was, they often argued over money, him and his grandmother, loud enough for people to hear.
What, him trying to take money that's not his?
The grandmother also accused him of stealing from her a lot.
Exactly.
And that on the night of her murder, there was yelling about money. So I think he's a drug addict with PTSD, and he was stealing from his grandmother.
Yeah.
And even though she had dementia, she had her wherewithal to know.
Yep. It sounds like that thought lines up, you know. Does it say anything about how he was caught. Did someone turn him in? Did he turn himself in? Or anything like that?
Archer is said to have called police to say he beheaded his grandmother. So he called 911 or whatever it is there. There's a different emergency number in Germany. He called and said that he beheaded her, and the officers clearly came and discovered the axe and the grandma. So
well, that's interesting. That makes me feel a little bit different in this situation.
He has no prior criminal history. None.
I mean, maybe he snapped, I don't know, but I just know that if someone has the capability of snapping like that on a family member, then it look, the whole point in having a prison, okay, and having sentencing is so that you can protect the rest of society. So in a situation where you have somebody who's at risk of ending another person in society, they are what prison is for. So like
clearly he should go to prison.
Yeah, I don't think he should be let out. But he's sentenced to 7
years.
I hear you. It's strange.
Well, I feel like a lot of Europe is like that. It's just really weird to me that, like, someone who could chop off their grandma's head with an axe can only go to prison for 7 years. Like, I have a lot of problems with the American justice system, but that in Germany would be a problem for me. Like, you're telling me this guy's going to be on the street in 7 years? And actually, there's two conflicting statements here. It says the prosecutor said Archer B had no criminal record, but then a newspaper said that he was known to police for minor crimes, nothing violent. So I don't know what the real truth is. You would think the prosecutor would know the facts of his criminal history.
You would think.
You would think. So I'm inclined to go with the prosecutor, but maybe he said that because none of them were violent. I don't know. Maybe there's a misinterpretation here because they speak in German. I don't know.
Sure.
But yeah, the fact that he only got 7 years, man.
It's interesting.
I don't know the laws over there.
Right. And I think that's the important part in this situation is understanding what their laws are. Like I said, I think the US has much more harsh laws around life sentences than most countries do.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think a life sentence in a lot of other countries is like 20 years,
well,
like 2
when we're
decades.
talking like European countries, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and here's a good example of that. So Lucy Letby was one of 6 people ever, or not ever, one of 6 people currently that just got sentenced life without essentially parole. So life without the ability of ever getting out of prison. And she's only one of 6 people that has that sentence in that country. Most people, when they're sentenced to life, they get out. Yep. A life sentence is a decade, maybe 2 decades, but it's not how we see it here.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess spending a decade in prison, like, your life is pretty much over when you get out.
I mean, you got to rebuild everything.
You're restarting from nothing.
Exactly. You got to rebuild everything. Career, everything.
And
everything.
Hopefully in Germany, it's similar to other European countries I see, where they're, like, actually rehabilitated. Mm-hmm. So hopefully he'll get, like, help if he is a drug addict with PTSD, which... Obviously, him being capable of doing this, like, I have a hard time with him being back on the streets. But if he gets, like, really good mental health help and is, rehabilitated and, like, being a community member and, you know what I mean, then maybe I'd be more comfortable with it. Yeah. But, I don't know. This is pretty brutal.
Yes, it is.
Like, one of the most brutal ways you could kill somebody.
Yes.
Especially a family member. But... I want to know what you guys think about this, and, like, do you feel like he should be in prison for life? I feel like almost everybody's going to say yes. Would you be comfortable with him being back on the streets in 7 years if he's determined to be rehabilitated after experiencing mental health counseling and, ways, like, detox, getting off drugs, dealing with that problem, dealing with his PTSD, maybe having job training, and you know what I mean? Like all the steps it takes to like go out in society and be an adult, like be a good citizen.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me know.